My name is Natalie. I'm 29 years old. And 3 weeks ago, at my own wedding cake tasting, the man I was supposed to marry looked at me and said, "I just wish you were more like my mother. At least she built something." The consultant froze. The fork stopped moving. Even the air felt embarrassed for me. But the truth is, that wasn't the first crack. It was just the first one loud enough for witnesses. Daniel and I had been engaged for 18 months, together for 4 years. He was 31, worked in corporate communications, charming in rooms full of people. The kind of man who knew exactly what to say, except when it mattered. His mother, Margaret Hale, was a legend in our city. She'd built a regional construction empire from nothing. 8-figure valuation, self-made, steel-spined. Everyone respected her. Daniel adored her. At first, I admired that. I work in software architecture. 10 years in. 6-figure income. Stable. Comfortable. I build systems that companies depend on. Invisible frameworks that keep entire operations alive. You can't drive past my work and point at it. But it exists. When we got engaged, I contributed $70,000 toward the wedding. Daniel added $30,000. We opened a joint account for wedding expenses. Everything else stayed separate. Venue booked, photographer secured, 8 months out. Then the comparison started. Small at first. My mom paid for her engagement ring in cash. My mom built her first house herself. My mom never financed anything. I'd nod, smile, move on. Until that Sunday dinner 3 weeks ago. Margaret was showing me the new addition she'd built onto her already massive home. "Did this myself," she said, tapping a wooden beam. "Contractors wanted $50,000. I did it for 15. "That's impressive," I said honestly. "I wouldn't even know where to begin." She laughed, not warmly. That's the difference between women who build and women who sit behind screens. Daniel stood beside me. He didn't correct her, didn't defend me, just smiled thinly and changed the subject. That should have been enough warning. But love makes you negotiate with red flags. The cake tasting was the breaking point. We were sampling lemon raspberry when Daniel sighed. Dramatic. Theatrical. "Everything okay?" the consultant asked gently. "It's fine," he said. "I was just thinking about my mom. She and my dad got married at City Hall. No big production. She was focused on building her company, not spending money on a party." I kept my voice even. We both agreed on this wedding. "I know. He looked at me, right there in public. "I wish you were more like her. At least she built something." It didn't feel like anger. It felt like clarity. I set my fork down. "I know," I said quietly. He blinked. "What?" "I know that's what you wish." The consultant pretended to reorganize plates. "Don't be dramatic," Daniel muttered. "You've been comparing me to her for weeks," I replied. "This is just the first time you said it in front of someone else." We left without finishing the tasting. In the parking lot, he said I was being sensitive. I told him I needed space. And for the first time in months, I meant it. I drove home, logged into our joint wedding account, $73,000 remaining after deposits. I opened a new savings account in my name, transferred $70,000, my contribution, left his $3,000. Confirmation code WD74892JNK3. Then I did something I didn't even plan. I turned the shower on hot, let steam fill the bathroom. And with my finger, I wrote the confirmation code across the mirror. Big, clear, not angry, just undeniable. Then I packed a bag, booked a hotel, texted him, "Taking space, you should too." 2 hours later, he replied, "This is childish." At 9 p.m., my phone exploded. "Where did the money go? Did you seriously empty the account? Call me now." My mother is furious. I turned the phone face down. For the first time in months, I felt calm. At 11:07 p.m., a new voicemail came in. Margaret Hale's voice. "Natalie, real women don't run when things get difficult. Call my son. Fix this." I stared at the ceiling of my hotel room. Real women don't run. No. Real women walk away when they're not respected. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying. Daniel didn't want me. He wanted a reflection of his mother. And I was done trying to become someone else's blueprint. I woke up the next morning to 17 missed calls. 8 from Daniel, 2 from his mother, 3 from an unknown number I already knew was her assistant's office line, and 4 voicemails. The first was Daniel, still angry. "I don't know what kind of point you think you're making, Natalie, but this is insane. You took our wedding money. Vendors are expecting deposits. You can't just pull $70,000 because you got your feelings hurt." Got my feelings hurt. Interesting phrasing. The second voicemail was Margaret. "Natalie, this is unacceptable. Engagement is not a game. You don't destabilize financial agreements because of a disagreement. Call my son." The third voicemail was different. It was Daniel again. And he was crying. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I was stressed. Wedding planning is stressful. Please come home. Please just put the money back. We can fix this. I stared at the ceiling of the hotel room and felt something unsettling. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Distance. I texted instead of calling. I withdrew the amount I contributed, 70,000. Your 3,000 is still there. He called immediately. I answered. You can't do this, he said. I just did. That money was for both of us. No, I corrected calmly. It was money I offered toward a wedding. The wedding is currently in question. You're holding it hostage. I'm protecting my investment. Silence. Then his voice hardened. So what, you're calling it off? I'm reconsidering whether I want to marry someone who thinks I'm inadequate. That's not what I said. You said you wish I were more like your mother. She built something. So have I. It's different. There it was again. Different. Which meant lesser. We hung up with nothing resolved. Around noon, my own mother called. Natalie, what happened? Margaret called me. She's furious. Of course she was. I explained everything. The dinner, the cake tasting, the comment, the pattern. My mother was quiet for a long time. That's not okay, she finally said. But running to a hotel and pulling money is drastic. I didn't run, I stepped back. And the money? It's mine. She sighed. Are you sure this isn't pride? No, I said evenly. It's clarity. That afternoon, Daniel found me. I was in the hotel lobby working when the glass doors slid open and he walked in. He looked wrecked. Red eyes, unshaven, no tailored jacket, just a hoodie and exhaustion. We need to talk. I'm listening. Not here. Yes, here. Public, witnesses, neutral ground. He sat across from me. I'm sorry, he said immediately. What I said was awful. I nodded. And? And I didn't mean it. Then what did you mean? He hesitated. And that hesitation said more than any insult ever could. He rubbed his face. I want us to be bigger. Bigger how? More driven, more ambitious? I make 6 figures. I know. I manage enterprise systems that process millions in transactions. I know. But, he exhaled slowly. You're comfortable, Natalie. Maybe too comfortable. There it was. Not loud this time, but clear. Comfortable. Which in his vocabulary meant stagnant. So you want someone hungrier, I said. I want someone who pushes. I push, just not in ways you can photograph. That's not fair. Isn't it? He looked down. You don't build things people can see. And suddenly the metaphor snapped into place. Margaret builds skyscrapers. I build invisible architecture. He values visibility. I value function. That's not a small difference. That's worldview. So what now? He asked quietly. I'm canceling the wedding. His head jerked up. Over this? Over the fact that you don't respect what I do. I do. Are you proud of me, Daniel? Silence. A long one. I just think you could be more. That was the moment. Not the cake tasting. Not the money. That sentence. I just think you could be more. Translation. Who you are isn't enough. I am more, I said softly. Just not in the way your mother measures. He started crying again. Don't do this. 4 years, Natalie. 4 years of me slowly realizing I'm competing with a woman who raised you. That's twisted. No, it's honest. I packed up my laptop. I'm getting an apartment, I continued. You can keep the one we share. What about deposits, the venue? Use your 3,000, or ask Margaret. I'm sure she'll handle it. That's cruel. No, I said gently. Cruel was telling me I haven't built anything. He didn't follow me when I left the lobby. That scared me more than if he had. That night, Margaret called again. I answered this time. You're making a mistake, she said without greeting. Possibly. My son loves you. Your son wants a woman like you. She scoffed. Every strong man wants a strong partner. I am strong. You withdrew money and hid in a hotel. I withdrew my money and removed myself from disrespect. You're being emotional. I've never been calmer. Silence. Then, coldly, Daniel needs a woman who elevates him. I don't exist to elevate him, I replied. I exist to be his equal. Margaret inhaled sharply. You code, she said. He needs legacy. I build infrastructure that companies rely on daily. You can't drive past it. You can't see oxygen either, I said. Doesn't mean it isn't vital. She didn't like that. You're walking away from security. No, I corrected. I'm walking towards self-respect. We hung up. Saturday, I toured apartments. Sunday, I signed a lease. Monday, Daniel texted. Coffee, one last time, no drama. I agreed, because I needed to see his face one more time to confirm something. Not whether he loved me, but whether he respected me. And deep down, I already knew the answer. Monday at 3 p.m., we sat across from each other at a quiet coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory. No shared memories in the walls. No ghosts of Sunday mornings or late-night takeout containers. Just two people and the truth sitting between them. Daniel looked better than he had at the hotel. Hair washed, button-down shirt, the version of himself he presented to the world when he wanted to appear composed. But his eyes were tired. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I needed closure," I replied. He nodded slowly. "I've been thinking," he began. "You were right. I have been comparing you to my mom." I waited. "I didn't realize how much," he added. "It's subconscious. She's my model for success." "I know. I didn't understand how much pressure that put on you." "Okay." He frowned slightly. "That's it? Just okay? What do you want, Daniel? A medal?" "I want to fix this." "You can't fix what you still believe." "I don't believe it. Are you proud of me?" The question landed between us again. Heavy, familiar. He exhaled. "I respect what you do." That wasn't the question. "Yes, I'm proud," he said quickly. The speed of it betrayed him. "Then why does it always sound like I'm one promotion away from being acceptable?" He rubbed his temples. "You twist everything." No, I listen carefully. Silence. Finally, he said it. "It's just different." There it was again. Different. I leaned back in my chair. "Explain different." He hesitated. Then, perhaps out of exhaustion, he stopped filtering himself. "My mom builds hospitals, office towers, entire neighborhoods. People see her work. It's tangible. It's legacy." "And mine isn't?" "You write code. I design systems that move millions of dollars an hour, but nobody knows it's yours." So that was it. Visibility. Recognition. Applause. "You want a woman people can point at," I said quietly. "That's not fair, isn't it?" He stared at the table. "Margaret Hale's son marrying a software architect just doesn't sound as impressive as..." "As what?" I pressed. "As someone who runs something physical, something people understand." I felt something inside me settle. Not break. Settle, like dust after an earthquake. "You're embarrassed by what I do." "No, you are. I just think you're capable of more." There it was again. More. I stood up slowly. "I am more," I said. "Just not in the language your family speaks." "Natalie, don't. You don't want me. You want a version of me that wins approval at your mother's dinner table." "That's not true." "Then tell me something," I said. "If your mother had built software instead of skyscrapers, would you still think code was invisible?" He didn't answer. That silence was the final confirmation. I picked up my bag. "So this is it?" he asked. "Yes. 4 years? 4 years of me trying to be enough. You are enough." "For you?" "Yes." "For your mother?" His jaw tightened. "She doesn't matter." "She does, because you let her." He looked away, and I knew. I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. The next 2 weeks were logistical surgery. I moved into my new apartment, 1 bedroom, 10th floor, city view. Quiet. Mine. I blocked Daniel's number. He found other ways. Emails. Messages through mutual friends. Once he showed up at my building. Security didn't let him up. One message read, "I'm willing to go to therapy." Another, "I'll stop comparing." But he never once said, "I'm proud of you." That omission echoed louder than every apology. Meanwhile, the narrative shifted. Through mutual friends, I learned I had overreacted, that I had stolen wedding money, that I was cold. Fine. People who knew me didn't ask twice. People who didn't weren't my responsibility. 3 weeks after I moved out, I received a message from Margaret. Not a call, a message. "I don't know your version of events, but Daniel is devastated. Whatever pride you're protecting, consider whether it's worth destroying a future." I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "I am protecting self-respect, not pride. Daniel deserves someone who meets his standard without resentment. That isn't me." She didn't respond. That silence felt like acknowledgement. 5 weeks after the hotel, the noise died down. Friends stopped asking. The engagement ring sat in a drawer. The wedding venue likely rebooked. Life resumed. And something surprising happened. I felt lighter. Lonely sometimes, but lighter. There's a difference between missing someone and missing who you thought they were. I didn't miss Daniel. I missed the version of him that didn't measure me. One Friday evening, 3 months after the breakup, I went on a date. His name was Adrian. Finance analyst, calm voice, no flashy watch, no talk of legacy. On the second date, he asked what I did for work. "I'm a software architect," I said, bracing slightly. His eyes lit up. "That's impressive. What kind of systems do you design?" No undertone. No subtle hierarchy. Just curiosity. We talked for 20 minutes about system scalability and infrastructure. He listened. He asked follow-ups. He didn't compare me to anyone. That's when I realized how starved I'd been for something so basic. Respect. A week later, through a mutual acquaintance, I heard Daniel had started seeing someone new. Commercial real estate developer. Runs her own firm. Drives a luxury SUV. More his speed, someone said carefully. More like his mother. I wasn't angry. I was relieved. Because now he didn't have to shrink anyone to feel aligned. The $70,000 still sat in my account, accruing interest. Daniel had called it theft. Margaret had called it emotional. But it wasn't either. It was a boundary. The wedding fund had transformed into something else entirely. Freedom. I didn't take money. I took back my power. And for the first time in years, I wasn't being measured. I was just becoming. 3 months after the breakup, the city had already moved on. Engagements dissolve quietly all the time. People whisper for a week, maybe 2. Then someone else cheats, someone else proposes, someone else files for divorce, and your story becomes background noise. But inside me, something had shifted permanently. The apartment no longer smelled like new paint. It smelled like coffee in the mornings, and jasmine from the candle I lit every night while coding. My couch had indentations from my own body, not ours. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean. I invested the $70,000. Index funds. Long-term growth. No drama. No symbolism beyond what it already meant. It wasn't wedding money anymore. It was leverage. Daniel tried for a while. An email once a week. I'm in therapy. I'm unpacking my relationship with my mom. I didn't realize how deep it went. But even in those messages, there was something missing. Ownership. He apologized for how he said things, never for what he believed. That distinction matters more than people realize. One night, about 10 weeks after everything collapsed, I ran into him unexpectedly at a charity event. I had almost skipped it. Work colleagues' invitation. Networking. And then I saw him across the room. He looked good, put together, back to his polished self. Beside him stood a woman in a tailored navy suit, confident posture, sharp eyes. She was mid-laugh, holding court with a group of investors. I didn't need introductions. Commercial real estate developer. The rumors had been accurate. She looked like someone Margaret Hale would proudly introduce at dinner. Daniel saw me. Our eyes locked. For a second, 4 years compressed into a heartbeat. He excused himself from the group and walked toward me. Natalie. Daniel. You look good. I am. There was an awkward pause. I'm glad you're doing well, he said carefully. And you? He glanced over his shoulder toward the woman in navy. I'm figuring things out. I studied him quietly. There was no anger in me anymore, just clarity. Does she build things people can see? I asked softly. He flinched. That's not fair. It doesn't have to be, I said. It just has to be honest. He lowered his voice. I did love you. I know. You just needed something different. He swallowed. Maybe I needed something I could understand. That was the most truthful thing he'd ever said. And I needed someone who understood me, I replied. Silence. Not hostile, not tender. Just final. I'm sorry, he said again. For what? For not seeing you clearly. I gave a small nod. That's okay, I see myself clearly now. That ended it. No fireworks, no dramatic walkout. Just 2 adults acknowledging incompatibility without pretending it was tragedy. A week later, Margaret sent one final message. I hope you find what you're looking for. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't sharp either. And strangely, that felt like closure. Because for the first time, she wasn't instructing me on what a real woman should be. She was stepping back. Adrian and I continued seeing each other. Slowly, intentionally. He didn't overwhelm me with grand gestures. He didn't talk about legacy. He didn't compare careers. Once over dinner, he asked, when you build a system, what part excites you most? No one had ever asked me that before. Optimization, I said without hesitation, making something invisible run flawlessly. He smiled. That sounds like magic. Magic. Not invisible. Not lesser. Magic. The difference between Daniel and Adrian wasn't ambition. It wasn't income. It wasn't background. It was valuation. One saw visibility as proof of worth. The other saw function. One evening, sitting alone in my apartment with the city lights glowing below, I opened the investment app and stared at the account balance. 70,000 had grown slightly, not dramatically, but steadily, like me. I thought about the cake tasting, about the lemon raspberry sample melting on porcelain while Daniel sighed, about the bathroom mirror and the steam and the confirmation code written in trembling but deliberate strokes. That wasn't anger. That was awakening. People kept saying I overreacted, but walking away from slow erosion isn't overreaction. It's preservation. The truth is, Daniel wasn't cruel. He was conditioned, raised to equate visibility with value, tangible with superior, legacy with love. And I almost let that conditioning rewrite my self-worth. Almost. But here's what I understand now. Buildings stand still once they're finished. Software evolves. It adapts. It updates. It improves without needing applause. I am far more like the systems I design than the skyscrapers Margaret builds. Always iterating. Always refining. Never static. And that's not a flaw. That's power. 3.5 months after the cake tasting, I returned to that same bakery. Not because I missed it, because I needed to rewrite it. The consultant recognized me immediately. Her eyes flickered with cautious curiosity, the way people look at you when they know they witnessed something intimate unravel. Back again? She asked gently. Yes, I said, for something small. I ordered a single slice of lemon raspberry. The same one. I sat alone this time. No ring, no expectations, no silent comparisons hanging in the air. I took a bite. It tasted lighter. Maybe it always had. The $70,000 had officially been invested for 90 days. I stopped thinking of it as reclaimed wedding money. It had a new name now. The Freedom Fund. Not because of the amount, because of what it represented. Freedom from negotiation. Freedom from shrinking. Freedom from performing adequacy. Daniel once told me I was comfortable. He meant stagnant, but comfort, I've learned, is peace when it's chosen. And stagnation is only what insecure people call stability. A week after the bakery visit, Adrian came over for dinner. I cooked. Nothing elaborate. Pasta, wine, music low in the background. At one point, he wandered to my desk where dual monitors displayed lines of architecture diagrams. You built this system? He asked. Designed it, I corrected. He studied it like it was a blueprint for a cathedral. This is impressive. Not polite, not strategic, genuine. I watched his face. There was no comparison happening behind his eyes. No invisible measuring tape. Just interest. Why'd you get into this field? He asked. Because I like building things that last, I said. And I froze. Because that was the first time I'd ever said it out loud. I build things that last. Just because they aren't made of concrete doesn't mean they don't hold weight. Adrian smiled. That makes sense. No further commentary. No hierarchy. Just acceptance. Sometimes at night, I replay the last conversation Daniel and I had at the charity event. I needed something I could understand, he'd said. That sentence doesn't haunt me anymore. It educates me. Love isn't about upgrading someone into digestible form. It's about curiosity. If someone needs you simplified to value you, they don't love you. They love comprehension. And comprehension is a small container for something as complex as a human being. I heard through a mutual friend that Daniel's new relationship is moving quickly. His mother adores the new woman. They're collaborating on a development project together. It makes sense. Their worlds align seamlessly. No translation required. And for the first time, I don't feel replaced. I feel released. Because now he doesn't have to look at someone and quietly wish they were built differently. And I don't have to sit at a table defending the architecture of my existence. Last week, I signed documents for something unexpected. Not a wedding venue, a condo. Small, modern, high ceilings, 10th floor again. Apparently I like elevation. The down payment came from the Freedom Fund. It felt poetic. I once saved that money to build a celebration around a future with someone who doubted my substance. Now it's building equity in a future I chose alone. When I held the keys for the first time, I didn't think about Daniel. I thought about the bathroom mirror, about the steam slowly fading, while the confirmation code remained visible for just a few seconds longer before disappearing. That code wasn't revenge. It wasn't theatrics. It was punctuation. You don't respect what I've built. You don't get access to it. That was the sentence. And it changed my life. There's something ironic about the entire situation. Margaret once told me, real women build legacies. She was right. We do. Sometimes the legacy is a skyline. Sometimes it's infrastructure. And sometimes it's the decision to walk away before resentment becomes architecture. I didn't lose a fiancé. I lost an audience. And I gained autonomy. The wedding fund became the Freedom Fund. The engagement became a lesson. And the silence that followed became proof that I no longer need applause to validate what I build. Because here's the truth Daniel never fully grasped. You can't drive past my work and point at it, but you can feel it when it fails. And it never fails. Just like I didn't. I didn't crumble. I didn't overreact. I evolved, and evolution is far more powerful than concrete.